Hello and welcome to Late Night Stories. It was late at night, and the weight of the world seemed to press down on John Matthews as he sat alone at his kitchen table. Bills were piling up, his business was failing, and an overwhelming sense of hopelessness had settled over him. He had never considered himself a deeply religious man, but in that moment of desperation, he found himself whispering a quiet prayer. God, if you're out there, if you can hear me, I need help. I don't know what to do. He had no idea if his words were reaching anything beyond the walls of his home, but for the first time in weeks, he felt a small flicker of peace. John's story is not unique. Throughout history, countless individuals have turned to prayer in their darkest moments, seeking guidance, strength, and hope. But what happens when faith meets action? When belief in divine intervention aligns with a willingness to embrace change? The story of John Matthews is a testament to the incredible power of faith and prayer, and how, when paired with determination, miracles can unfold in the most unexpected ways. John had always been a hard-working man. He built his small construction company from the ground up, working tirelessly to provide for his family. But the past few years had been brutal. The economy had taken a downturn. Clients were backing out of deals, and suppliers were raising prices beyond what he could afford. His once thriving business was now teetering on the edge of collapse. One evening, after receiving yet another rejection from a potential client, John sank into his chair, exhausted and defeated. His wife Mary placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Maybe it's time to try something different," she suggested softly. "Maybe it's time to pray." John let out a heavy sigh. "I don't know, Mary. I've never been the praying type." "Maybe it's not about being the praying type," she said with a small smile. "Maybe it's just about believing that something greater than us can help." That night, after Mary had gone to bed, John sat alone in the dim light of the kitchen and whispered his first real prayer. It was raw, unpolished, and filled with uncertainty. But it was sincere. The next morning, as John sipped his coffee, his phone rang. It was an old friend, Mark, whom he hadn't spoken to in years. "John, I heard you were having some tough times. Listen, I have a project coming up that needs someone with your expertise. It's not huge, but it could help you get back on your feet." John was stunned. Just hours after his prayer, an opportunity had appeared. He accepted the job immediately, feeling a renewed sense of hope. As he worked on the project, he continued to pray, not just for help, but for wisdom, patience, and strength. And with each prayer, something remarkable happened. Small opportunities began appearing. Former clients reached out. Payments that had been delayed suddenly came through. Bit by bit, things started to turn around. Just as John was beginning to believe in the power of prayer, a major setback hit. A key investor for his company pulled out at the last minute, leaving him with a huge financial gap. The disappointment was crushing, and for a moment, he felt his faith waver. Would things start looking up only to fall apart again, he muttered. Mary, ever the steady presence in his life, reminded him, faith isn't just about asking for help when things are bad. It's about trusting that the right path will reveal itself, even when we can't see it yet. That night, John prayed again, not for a quick fix, but for clarity. And the next morning, clarity arrived in the form of an unexpected call. A local businessman, whom John had met years ago, was looking for a trustworthy partner for a new development project. "I've seen how hard you work, John," the man said. "I believe in your skills and I want to invest in your company." It was the break he needed, and it came in a way he never expected. With renewed faith, John worked harder than ever, not just on his business, but on himself. He realized that prayer wasn't just about asking for help. It was about listening, trusting, and acting on the guidance he received. He began every morning with a prayer of gratitude, thanking God not just for the successes, but also for the challenges that made him stronger. He reached out to help others who were struggling, offering jobs and mentorship to young workers in need of guidance. Over time, his company not only recovered but thrived, and beyond financial success, John found something far more valuable: peace. The deep, unshakable peace that comes from knowing that he was never truly alone in his struggles. Years later, John often looked back on the night he sat at his kitchen table, feeling lost and hopeless. He had no way of knowing then how profoundly his life would change when he took that first step of faith. His story became an inspiration to many in his community. He started sharing his experiences, speaking at local gatherings about the power of faith and prayer. He encouraged others to embrace not just the act of prayer, but the mindset of faith, one that sees setbacks as stepping stones, failures as lessons, and prayers as powerful catalysts for change. John Matthews had once believed that prayer was a last resort for the desperate. Now he knew the truth. Prayer is the foundation upon which strength, resilience, and miracles are built. One of the most profound lessons in life is that faith and perseverance can transform even the darkest moments into new beginnings. As we age, we often reflect on the hardships we have endured, the losses, the disappointments, and the moments of uncertainty. Yet, through these experiences, we come to understand that true strength does not come from avoiding challenges, but from learning to trust the journey, even when we cannot see where it leads. The story of John Matthews is a testament to the power of prayer, resilience, and unwavering faith. When he felt completely lost, he turned inward, surrendering his fears to a higher power. This simple act of trust opened doors he never expected, proving that sometimes we must let go of control to receive the blessings meant for us. His journey reminds us that prayer is not merely a request for help, but a way to cultivate peace, clarity, and strength within. By embracing faith, not only in divine guidance, but in our ability to rise again, we allow life to unfold in its perfect timing. As we grow older, it becomes even more important to nurture this sense of trust. Trust that every setback is a setup for something greater. Trust that we are never alone. And trust that even in our later years, life still holds meaning, purpose, and new opportunities. Just as John's life changed with a single prayer, so too can ours. The key is to remain open, hopeful, and willing to believe that the best may still be ahead. When we live with faith, we find not only solutions, but also a deep, abiding peace that carries us through every stage of life.